Alright, third time's a charm. 2016 Chevy Equinox 2.4 ecotec. First thing you want to note on this timing chain. There's a tag in your glove department that will list all the motors in the different revisions. Ours is a LEA. Don't ask me how I figured that out. I think I went off the year and the VIN number or something. But you're going to want to know what motor you have. This particular motor has cam phasers. Some have non-variable timing, which is a gear on the end of each cam. Another thing to note, when you're torquing the crank bolt, the cams have hexagons on them where you can put a wrench. Make sure you got someone up here holding it really good and that it doesn't come over and hit the head. Make sure you got a strong guy up here that can hold that tool while you torque that, and that's after you have everything put back together and you're at top dead center. Another thing to note, again, these are all just notes. You're going to want to be able to support the motor somehow, either with a engine hoist or some blocks underneath, which is what we use, some wooden 4x4s, because you're going to want to pull the motor mount off. Gives you a lot more access. Obviously, you're going to have the whole intake off and the cover off. Make sure you have the engine at top dead center before you start. And way back behind here, behind the motor, is going to be your timing chain tensioner. I think it's a 32mm bolt. Make sure you're at top dead center before you pull that out. We went with the full coils kit, by the way. If you haven't seen the video yet, watch their video on YouTube. I don't think it covers this exact year motor. So another note, if you're watching different videos, you'll see the timing marks on the cams are in different spots. It's a little confusing, but their chains come with colored timing chain links, and it'll all match up. It all falls together. And while we're discussing the chain tensioner, my kit was missing it. It didn't have it in there. Turn this fan off. So what we had to do, there's a clip right here. This will be ran out. This stud right here will be out. You got to take the C-clip off, which is not easy. And then I think you turn that back in. We got that all the way back in, and then put the C-clamp back on. But the OEM one seemed fine. My kit was missing this. I called Coys the next day. They were more than happy to send one out. We haven't got it in the car yet. I don't know if I'll ever do that because the OEM one was fine. So, let's see, we got all that covered. Make sure you got new motor oil. You're gonna have to drain the oil first. So make sure you got oil and an oil filter. We went with a new belt. The old belt was pretty much dry rotted. It wasn't cracked, but it was, pretty much dry rotted. The new belt was a lot softer, and you could tell that it had less wear. So we did a new belt. I went with the full coils kit that came with the cam phasers and the VVT solenoids. It was supposed to have the tensioner, but that was missing. But just be aware, if you're going to get the kit that doesn't have the cam phasers, this particular year, the cam phaser bolts are one-time use torque to yield. So if you're going to reuse your cam phasers, make sure you get new bolts from the dealership. The kit I got came with the phasers and the new bolts. What it did not come with was the crankcase bolt. or the crank pulley bolt, which is also a torque to yield and one-time use, and we picked that up from the Chevy dealer for about 20 bucks. So let's see, we covered doing it to TDC, the motor mount, the chain tensioner. Oh, by the way, that tensioner, I think they show it in the Koi's video, but once you get it in there, you got to get a pry bar and push on the chain to activate that the shaft that we ran in on the OEM one. It has to be pushed in and then it pops out, and then it puts the tension on the chain guide. So that wasn't very difficult though. You're going to have the car jacked up pretty high. I had one of my real tall buddies over here because the car was jacked up. He did everything on the top. I did everything on the bottom. Had the wheel removed. Just another little side note. There's a hole right here in the frame, and that gets you to one of the timing cover bolts, or one of the bolts you got to get to. Just beware when you're pulling your socket out, it doesn't catch on that and drop down in the frame, because we got one that's living in the frame. There's also a little cover right here. It's got like three little clips. 1, 2, there's a third one somewhere. You're gonna want to pull that cover off. It gives you access to, I believe, the crank pulley bolt, but I think that's about it as far as the side notes, things that weren't covered in other videos that I've watched. Again, we did the full kit that has the inner and outer chain. It also has the oil orifice that gives more volume of oil to the timing chain area. It's supposed to give it more lubrication. We did the VVT solenoids, new cam phasers, new torque to yield crank bolt, new torque to yield cam phaser bolts. Make sure you got some good torque wrenches, a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch drive. Make sure they're good ones. Don't cheap out. That's a costly mistake. Let's see. We'll start her up. Let you hear it. We're running Mobil 1, fully synthetic with the Mobil 1 oil filter. Purring like a kitten, boys. That's just the injectors you hear. It used to be clatter, 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 clatter. And then it was throwing some timing codes, advanced timing, and had 2 or 3 codes. So
songs, and I think you know who it is.
another thing to note after you get it all together, I would do some heat cycles, kind of like breaking in a dirt bike or something. Let it get warm, cool down, start it up, let it warm up, cool down. Probably about 4 of those. Let everything kind of stretch out, expand and contract. That's just personal preference. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's what I did. And because at first it was a little noisy, little weird sounding, and then after a few heat cycles, it's just purring like a kitten. So those are my side notes, and make sure you watch that Koi's video. And again, these motors, you know, going from 08 all the way up to 2024, they have different revisions, which that's what you see in the glove department. So the timing marks might be different. So if you're watching one video and it looks different from yours, that's okay. Just understand that some years, you know, don't have the cam phasers, or the timing marks are in a different spot. They're constantly updating those motors, trying to make them better. But, you know, don't let that freak you out. Just be aware that your motor might be a little different than the other one, and definitely try to figure out exactly what motor you have going off that tag in the glove department. And I'm so sorry, I cannot remember how I identified this motor, but I know this one and this 2016 is the LEA. Peace.